Deep Dive Digimon Ghost Game, the serial killer. We're going to be finishing this video today. Last time around, we got both the introduction to a lot of the various structures for Digimon, a good overview of this somewhat broken nature of the show, and how the ending was rushed but had some logic to it. I don't really know where they're going from here because it says Part 5, Endgame, A Hero's Journey, because the main character's named Hero. But we kind of already covered so much of what would be standard to cover in this type of review, of showing how the plotline broke down, but it was episodic in nature, had good elements, but then kind of wasted them on said episodic nature without building to something more meaningful at the end, because what they did felt rushed. I don't really know where they're going from here. So I'm very curious. Let's check it out.
Gammamon is essentially a toddler, a somewhat well-behaved and well-mannered one, but
that's exactly the opposite of a toddler. If it's not throwing up, trying to bite you, or absolutely destroy your sleep schedule by inducing paranoia that any sound you hear is them trying to eat something electrical, then you've never had a kid. I haven't either, but I've had nieces and nephews, and I laugh at my family members when they have to deal with this. I'm not a good person. I'm really not.
Toddler nonetheless. Innocent and wide-eyed, it's up to his big brother Hero to raise him right. Because hell if Hokuto's gonna do it. Even before his dad vanished into the digital world, it seems Hero took the role of homemaker. With his mother working abroad as an international journalist and his dad buried in his work, Hero was undoubtedly the one stuck with the cooking, the cleaning, maintaining of the house, and being caregiver to his own father. It's probably why he's so inclined to help people and falls into the role of mediator. As begrudging and exasperated he is, it's probably just reflexive for him at this point. As such, he's quite a problem solver, always capable of assessing things and looking for the
This is the most time this guy's focused on this character, and already I can see his default face as, oh god, you seriously need me to do this? And I kind of like the character already.
Optimal solution to the optimal outcome. Even...
He's lockpicking?
Talk no jitsu.
What?
This phrase has always rubbed me the wrong way. It just seems a bit dismissive of the notion of non-violent conflict resolution. Even in the instances where Hero does talk down an enemy, it's after working out exactly how to do it, and usually involves some action during or prior to the resolution. Also, I like action and violence, but talking can be really fucking interesting too.
But I'm a different kind of Digimon, made from control spires. Does that mean I have a heart too? Or was I created without one?
These are all very good questions that I'd love to answer for you, but I'm not very good at this kind of stuff. Could you repeat the question?
I'm not sure I remember what I asked anymore.
Then we're both confused. Let's forget the whole thing and grab a bite.
Seriously? That's actually one of the plot... I asked you a question that's deep and meaningful. I forgot. You forgot. We both forgot. It doesn't matter. Oh, boy. I missed that episode. Granted, this looks like Series 2, so I missed a lot of that up until the final episode, which I didn't realize was the final episode.
And I really think non-violent conflict resolution is a big part of what Ghost Game is getting at. For a horror show, there aren't actually many deaths, and when there are, they're not fun. Like, maybe the closest to an exciting death is Arukenimon, but the rest are either sad or unnervingly matter-of-fact, in a manner that almost seems to be in direct response to the previous season's wanton destruction. Hero could easily be bitter about his living situation, but despite his exasperation, he doesn't seem to hate his dad. On the contrary, he respects him for retaining his childlike wonder, for always looking at life like a wonderful adventure, for not being a cynical asshole, even when times are rough. Especially when times are rough.
And of course he points out freaking Summer Wars. Because the bro character who's the adopted son is like the cynical asshole, and the entire progression for him is coming back to the family and dropping a little of the cynicism. So yeah, that's the perfect little call out right here.
Ghost Game has a reverence for life and a reverence for death. And as such, killing has weight. Even when it was a mass-murdering sociopath like Sealsdramon biting the dust, it isn't celebrated. And I don't think it has anything to do with whether he deserved it or whether it was the morally correct thing to do. Just the act of killing and the sight of death is enough to disturb them. And it should. Life might be cheap to Gulus, but it isn't to Hero. Starting war is easy. Keeping peace, that's work.
Huh.
To finally nail this thing down, I think we're going to need a quick...
So that's actually kind of interesting because, like you pointed out, earlier seasons, the ones I saw especially, every episode was monster we're going to destroy. And then they even put in the entire, oh yeah, but they come back as babies. So it's fine. We can mass murder everyone because it's not real death. Yeah, which is also one of the reasons I liked it when they went to the real world, because it felt like suddenly there were stakes involved. So you ever get that moment where you realize you probably should have had breakfast because you say the word steaks and it doesn't actually refer to the edible ones, but suddenly you could feel your stomach tearing itself inside out because you said a word and it's not actually related, but you're regretting every second of it because of said pain? I'm not doing that, not all right now. So no, I don't have any idea what that would feel like at all. Nope.
Play-by-play to put everything into perspective. So let's take things right from a triceratops.
What? Triceratops? Oh God, you drink Red Bull, you monster. I'm sorry, this is a personal opinion. I know some people say it's sweet. These people are wrong and they scare me. It is very much just caffeinated cough syrup. Ew.
So, all we are
Orbital
is
view?
dust in the wind, dude.
Gammamon is Bailey. He's a bit of a handful, but he's basically a good boy. He just can't control those pesky evolutions. They meet Mummymon, who's hostile at first, until they inform him he needs to update his medical license. When befriending Ruli and a fluffy fella, they let notorious asshole Drakmon off the hook, and plot twist, turns out he's an asshole, just feigning redemption. Maybe Hero's goodwill is gonna bite him in the ass down the line. Then Kyoshiro enters the fray, even though he wasn't ready for this jelly. Clockmon returns to take Hero for the time of his life, till tall, dark, and mysterious bonks him into involuntary chronocide, and Hero and his friends get their first real taste of death.
Let's help.
Despite some protestations, Hero's not going to stand by and let someone die, even someone villainous. No, he's staying alive. Staying alive. Ha, 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 ha.
Slow? Oh, sorry, I thought it said slow bro for a second. Sore blow. Oh, it's probably the name of the attack.
Sorry, weird laugh. Clockmon can finally manifest after being repeatedly punched in the balls, repents for real, and despite his villainous roots becomes a real G, an absolute pillar of a community. In fact, he's normally on the neighborhood watch.
You know, I should have seen that pun coming. I have no one to blame but myself. But it still surprised me. And this one's on me. Neighborhood watch because he's a clock Digimon. I don't even... God damn you for beating me to that one.
Meanwhile, Angoramon has been sneaking off to hang out with a community of Digimon without telling the missus. They're strangers in a strange land, so of course they'd be cautious and feel safer in a Digimon-only space. But after a close shave, he welcomes Ruli in. Then Gulus happens, and he happens hard, and Hero shook. How can his sweet little brother, who barely grasps the concept of death, harbor such darkness? Then they're attacked by a fairy tale villain who eats sleeping children.
Fairy tale villain? Oh.
Hero's reluctant to use lethal force despite the stakes. It's not just a matter of whether it's necessary, but the matter of the precedent and the example he's setting for Gammamon, and whether or not it will trigger an appearance from a Triceratops. But they just blow up Cherrymon's arm and he fucks off for 100 years.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Yes?
It is convenient.
Then they encounter with a dark Digimon who just want to go home. They're misunderstood, naught but outsiders to this world and seen as nothing but monsters despite their good intentions. And yet they see something special in the partnership between Hero and Gammamon and the power for good it could have in the future. Again, Gulus appears to do some killing, albeit in a slightly more self-defensive kind of way. They certainly don't seem as choked up about it. Drakmon comes back and dies, seems like a bit of a waste, but there you go. And Goramon meets up with an old buddy who's taken up a new hobby of murdering people because he's a bad egg. He has no choice but to make it over.
He's a literal egg. And you said why? Oh my, I don't even... I thought the pun with the clock was just... it's not even a pun here. He's an egg and he's bad because of murder. Yes, but also just... Seriously, Deep Dive, you are running through as many puns right now as you can just get in there without seeming like it's too many. And you know what? I'm impressed. I don't want to be, but I am. And I kind of hate myself for it.
Over easy. Then Digitamamon essentially calls him a race traitor. The letter? Some stuff happens. Enter Espimon, who's looking for Hero, but he can't because of a silly misunderstanding. Gee, there's a lot of that going around. I wonder if that has anything to do with anything. After reaching a lakeside town and finding Raremon, a deformed, rabid mess, Hero makes a tough call to put old Yeller down. Despite his strong pacifism, in this instance, death would be a mercy. But Hero's not down for long. To save the zombie spider-infected Ryudamon, Hero literally endangers his entire class with her.
I'm sorry, he did what with zombie spider infection? Okay. You know, if I was told this was part of the show, I would assume this is the final boss. Because that sounds incredibly fucked up.
Not down for long. To save the zombie spider-infected Ryudamon, Hero literally endangers his entire class with horrific body horror mutation. Because no matter the odds, he'll always aim to save everyone. Even if there's only a 1% chance of a happy outcome, he'll take it every time. And
why does it sound like there should have been a problem where it backfired horribly and he had to accept that? Because I don't think it does from what I've heard from the previous part talking about the actual end of the show.
I guess his friends are just cool with that, or at the very least, accustomed to it. Calamaramon mentions the portal to the digital world being bendy, which doesn't end up meaning anything.
Speaking of Calamaramon.
Titties?
No.
Up next is another appearance from Gulus, who rescues Hero and Ruli from Monkey Chain Hell. He mentions Hero has taken another step towards understanding him this time, but I feel like he tried that last time and got shooed away. I guess you could argue that the difference this time is that both of the previous hits had a body count, and despite putting Hero and Ruli in the aforementioned Monkey Chain Hell, there could have theoretically been a peaceful solution to this had Hero been in an able-bodied position. So in showing some amenability towards Gulus, Hero has in theory taken another step towards understanding him. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but it's somewhat supported by his next appearance where he's really pushing for that sync, trying to get Hero into alignment. But he's undercut by Geekamon, and when he turns his aggression towards the well-meaning minion, Hero stands in the way and forces him to back down, making this the first time he's been able to stop Gulus from taking the kill. Whatever his motives may be, it's not in his interest to alienate Hero for the sake of petty vengeance, so he pieces out once more. Hopping back a bit, we get a few glimpses of Hokuto. He's in the digital world, and he doesn't seem to be in a hurry, and he doesn't seem to be in any particular peril. He just seems to be arsing about. Well,
Really? So I was under the impression that the dad was like some crazy guy, but they talked about how, he doesn't like hate his dad because he still has a childlike wonder. I'm just like, so he fucked off to go play around at a new playground. More comes up later, right? Like that's not the entirety of it. I would actually be more disappointed about that if there wasn't actually a reason beyond, ooh, funny, shiny. That would be the point where Gulus is right. Maybe we should start killing people.
Well, I guess that's another mystery box getting knocked off the metaphorical shelf. Some stuff happens.
Hey, are you like the Dark Conqueror? Wait, what?
Wait a minute. Is that?
Do we have plot?
Could it be?
Wait, what? Here comes a handsome bastard. Watch your step. Watch your step. Handsome bastard incoming. Nope. Oh, it's the character model he's using. What? God of academics?
Balmon? That lanky prick? This does not bring great joy to my knowledge, I'll tell you that. Anyway, in a battle against Kazuhamon, she deems the relationship between Hero and Gammamon to be unpure and unnatural. But they ain't having none of that. The power of their bond prevails and a shining star emerges.
It's time!
What?
To get really serious.
What the hell is that music he's using? I'm sorry, what? Time to get really serious. That sounds like such meme. It's probably from a comedy song now that I think about it. And Bill Arson Cypher mentioned Hero's dad. Well, since I'm kind of stuck here, might as well have fun. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Serious eyes and a serious nose.
Please tell me this is not actually the canon song. Oh no.
Serious face is in a serious pose.
Next
It's
episode, we get a
serious
small
one.
Gulus cameo, some more clues to the nature of the Digimon migration, and the mysterious voice that's sending them there. In 63, we finally get an influx of Digimon migrations, building some momentum into the final episodes of Ghost Game. After one more quick monster of the week. After touching base with Hokuto, we learn that the digital world is facing some nefarious disaster that's causing a worldwide blackout. Friends and enemies past must join together to send Hero and company to the digital world, that they might save both it and their world from impending doom. After one more quick Monster of the Week episode. Okay.
I'm seeing a pattern here. There's always one more Monster of the Week. I'm just... that would bug me. That would actually bug me.
That's a little unfair. This does serve to showcase the effects of the GRB virus and also foreshadow Gulus finally taking dominance over the body as he whispers into Gammamon's ear like a little demon on his shoulder. Doubly nefarious that Gulus could synthesize an antidote whenever he wanted. He's created this problem and now he's gaslighting Gammamon into giving up his agency to solve it. Typical politician.
Yeah,
Finally,
revengeance.
In the penultimate episode, the heroes are pushed to the very brink by Bloom Lordmon. In a moment of weakness, Gulus manipulates Gammamon into letting him take the reins. He digivolves to Regulusmon and reveals his true intentions: to conquer the world and inflict his GRB virus onto all, that they would fight for nothing but strength and survival, with him as their king. The hero is still connected to Gammamon and helps draw him out to wrestle Regulusmon for control. Everyone's sucked into a pocket universe within Gammamon's body and our boy gets mortally wounded.
What? So let me get this straight. They went from the world to the digital world to the world inside the Digimon's chest, because that's apparently a thing now. Is that the previous... Did that exist in previous iterations? I just missed it. I mean, I've missed a lot of seasons, so it's entirely possible. But still, that seems like a step or a drop too far. I mean, I've heard people want to get in Digimon, but that's, I don't think that's how they meant it.
But a mysterious voice freezes time and Hero enters another pocket universe Inception style. Gulus tries to pull a fast one on him, but he doesn't properly study for the role, lacking the lingual quirks of Hero's little brother. In the end, it's Hero's connection to Gammamon that allows him to see through the deception and rescue him from deletion. In round 2, Siriusmon ain't screwing around, and by taking a page out of Gulus's book, he's able to defeat and assimilate his shadow self in the most horrifying yet cute and smuggest way possible.
Sounds like a toddler.
Finally, we learn of the true puppet master behind everything,
what?
Quantumon. At first, she was just fucking around to find out, but in response to the threat of Gulus, she sent more Digimon to the real world to escape the GRB invasion and cut the connection to the real world, causing the technological blackout. Finally, Gulus reveals his extraterrestrial origins and the oncoming cataclysm that will bring an end to their world.
Wait, Gulus wasn't the enemy at the final? Oh god, seriously? So let me get this straight. The final boss was actually running from the penultimate boss, who wasn't the final boss, who's still around. So what felt like the final boss wasn't the final. Oh god, really? Hello, Naruto's Kaguya. You look slightly different today.
And in this instance, Gulus teaches us a valuable lesson. That to understand each other and form connections, we have to talk no jitsu. Because how the fuck were we supposed to figure this out? If you truly loved me, you'd know what was bothering me. Quantumon freaks out and zaps most of the Digimon back to the digital world and considers separating the connection permanently. In all of her calculations, successful symbiosis and coexistence was very low. Knowing that, do they still wish to take this path? Girl, just who the hell do you think you're talking to? This was never even a choice for Hero and Manakawa and the gang. Weeks pass and together they work together to build a nation for Digimon and humans to
I'm sorry. They made a nation. I'm sure there's no historic precedent of that failing horribly. I'm looking at you, all of British conquest suddenly being broken up into, okay, you exist here now, and that not causing any problems at all. Oh, God. If there is a sequel to this, it's going to be the most depressing thing possible. I'm talking full-on Gundam as directed by Hideki Anno. Oh, no, wait, they're actually doing that shit. That's not even a joke anymore.
Coexist to chart a course to a brighter future, like a North Star shining in the sky.
Well, what does it say? Where is it?
So what the hell was that all about?
This has been a complete fucking nightmare. Just tell us what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
A little all over the place. There is a storyline here. It's a bit thin. It's more implicit than explicit. That's cool. Lots of Digimon seasons are.
It almost feels like this is less of a season and more, hey, we want to get to a world where the Digimon are already on Earth. Let's have a show explain why that happened. Is that the case? Probably not, but it would make sense if they did it that way.
Yeah, that's why they call it subtext, not text. Whew. I want to prefix this conclusion by saying I don't think Ghost Game is a perfect show by any means. It could have done a lot more with what it had. I feel like it could have challenged Hero's attitude of pacifism a bit more strongly. I mean, I get it's a kid's show, and teaching the heroism of temperance is a positive quality, but if Dracmon had come back as a more serious threat, it would have made a great contrast to Clockmon. Like, yeah, letting this guy go came back to bite us, but here's this guy who seemed irredeemable, but he was given a second chance, and now he's a cool dude. It would have given Hero's choice to forgive more weight, you know? While I think the series had a great roster of partner lines, I don't think it fully capitalized on the personality changes or the fluidity of partnering. And there weren't really strong character arcs or solid ending points for Ruli and Kyoshiro. Maybe that's just life, you know, closure's a boon and a rare one at that. Not everything gets a neat ending. The horror angle was a great aesthetic, but I do wonder if sometimes it was a bit limiting that every story had to fit the horror format. Even if it was a convenient shorthand for establishing a premise, horror's been a part of Digimon since the beginning, and maybe it's most effective when used sparingly. But above all, it could have been serialized. It was 1.5 years long, and it was testing my patience after a while. It would have been better. Even now, my mind wanders with the structural progression that could have been.
Wait, it was 1.5 years? That's odd. So that would be 3 seasons of anime, or 12 seasons usually. Sorry, I'm used to the idea of like, okay, you get either a 24 episode or a 12 episode season out, and that's the one, and then maybe the next year you get another one. But if it was a full 1.5 years where they got the entire season out, I think Digimon is owned by Bandai. Maybe they just work differently. I could be wrong about that. Huh. Also, Pale, you mentioned, I probably butchered your name. Sorry about that. I just finished Neon Genesis Evangelion, the end of Evangelion. Did not like it at all. I hope the newer movies are somewhat better. I don't think you're supposed to like End of Evangelion. Like, legitimately, I think you probably got the exact correct feeling out of it. You're supposed to go into that feeling like, what the fuck was this all worth it at the end? So you probably got exactly what that movie was aiming for. It's not a happy ending. It's a, I hate this, what is wrong with this ending. The newer movies, I haven't seen the last one, but they're unique, and it's a good thing you watched End first. So it's literally reversing season 1, where the humans were the outsiders in the digital world. This time it's the Digimon as the outsiders in the human world. So where you saw it as an adventure from the human side, it's a reverse isekai, and you get to see the horror of the outside of context problem in the human world. I don't think that's entirely what they went for, but it does kind of function that way.
In a sense, this means that Ghost Game doesn't have any filler episodes, because all of these monsters of the week, they're all arguments against the views of GulusGammamon. Affirmations that even if a cultural divide seems unbridgeable, it can be done, as long as we're willing to understand each other. Because most of the time, the unknown is never as scary as you've imagined it to be. And
it almost sounds like he's making the argument that the structure of the show, even though it is closer to what a lot of Digimon did, where it was episodic monster of the week, if they had stretched out episodes more or had them overlap, by saying the same message, it might have had more impact, because it's all serving the point of leading up towards Gulus being wrong by showing that he's wrong when he tells you what he believes is right.
Maybe that monster is just a friend you haven't seen in the light yet. And at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. To belong, to have dignity, and the freedom to pursue our lives and passions in peace. Reconciling so many individual value systems. Is it possible? Is it even worth trying?
Yes! Obviously! Even if it's difficult, even if it seems impossible.
Okay, can we just acknowledge right now, this is funny because he has the lip flaps matching what he's saying, just close enough that it almost sounds like, since his character model does not have mouth movements, that it's coming from the character on the screen. He's just redubbing them. Too that long. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm not going to risk any of the music he puts in, but that actually was amazing. I love the conclusions he's come to, and I love that just, it did lead into everything is filler, but it's a filler that is showing you the argument against the final villain. I almost wonder if it was the format, like I said, that might have been the problem. And if they had maybe made it a little tighter, a little more poignant for a few of them, shorten it up, it might have actually benefited from a tighter season as opposed to what sounds like a much more long, drawn-out one over a year and a half. Because that might have been more beneficial to the story they were trying to tell. But also, it's a Digimon story, and they have the expectation of it's going to be a certain way. I don't know. It just... But they also mentioned earlier in here that the people making the show thought that if they didn't make it a certain way, it would be too complicated and people would understand it. Which is ironically what happened anyways, because they lost track of what they're doing because people didn't understand it because they were focusing more on the character of the week as opposed to the messaging that was kind of building up towards it. Instead of having poignant examples, it was a lot of examples that kind of blended into each other. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Either way, though, I'm coming away from this thinking I probably would like to watch this, find out what's going on, enjoy it just as a slice of life that happens to run with horror elements. Where before I was like, oh, it has horror elements, I'm going to run. Because I'm a coward, and even Digimon horror would be enough for me to go, nope. Yeah. Either way, it's just, I really like how Digimon progressed this show. Maybe not always the best choice, but I like that they're trying something new, which for a lot of established series, that doesn't happen. You get a formula and you do not deviate from it, not just because it's different for you, but because your audience will not accept it. And it sounds like that might have been part of what was going on here. And the only thing I wish Deep Dive had gone into a little more detail is, what was the fan reaction outside of it to show how they were interpreting it when it came out? Because we saw a bit of the devs side. I would like to see what the fan side was when this came out, but that sounds like it would be almost its own video in its own right. And who knows, maybe we can tempt Deep Dive into coming back and doing that closer to the next 5 years because, you know, the guy has 2 videos from 4 years ago and 3 months ago. At this rate, maybe by 2030, he'll have his 3rd video where he breaks down the cultural impact of Digimon and how it's influenced media, because that seems like the next step to go. An introduction to how many Digimon there are, a deep dive into an actual characterization of a single game, or sorry, TV show, and now we'll maybe just see the greater context of how it inspired pop culture. Is that the way it'll go? I have no idea. Either way, I do know. If you haven't subscribed to him already, you probably should, because as of right now, he's at 848, and I think we should see him at 1,000. Just throwing it out there. We need to do this. I'm glad we've had this talk. Joking aside, though, I think when I first saw his video, he had a significantly lower amount. These were barely over 1,000 each, and he did a great job really breaking it down, and I wish there was more of this. He mentioned somewhere, and I forget where, I think it was a camp, or like one of the comments he left, the deep dive, well, the Ghost Game deep dive specifically came up because it basically was a brainworm he couldn't get out of his head. So I was like, you know what? Let's see where this goes. And that sounds fun, and I would love to see more of things like this that just happening in his head, because his animation style is fun, and I want more of this. He did a good job. Basically, what I'm saying is, if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up, go subscribe to Deep Dive, and just, if you can, let him know that 3 years is too long. I know he said 5. 3 years is too long. I mean, 2 years, 1 year. The next 5 minutes are also too long, but that just gets a little too much at that point. I mean, who would ever believe that, except for everyone here. Every time, regardless. We'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.